Well, hello everyone. I am so glad that you've joined us, whether you're here in the room in Leander, Liberty Hill campus, hanging out in your bedroom, on the back porch, taking a walk, out on a drive, whatever. I'm glad you've tuned in today. I'm glad to see so many of you face to face today. I'm really glad you're here. Thanks for being with us at Rock Point. So would like to ask you to engage with us a little bit. In fact, if you are in the room, there is a QR code on your table. If you are online, then coming up next to me on the screen is a QR code. And simply what you do is you take your phone out, you open your camera up and hold it up there and watch for that thing to pop down at the top and hit it. It's really that simple. And what you're going to find is you're going to find a connection card. We would love to connect with you, for you to let us know how we can pray for you, how we can help you, and how we can walk through this week with you. And then for those of you who are our guests for the very first time, then we would love to know that you're here, and you can connect and let us know that with as much information as you're comfortable with. We'd love to send you a gift this week, and we're just so glad that you would take the time to join us. If today, as we go through this service, you would like to talk to someone, if you're online, there's a number, 512-259-8872, and you can call or text that number at any time. If you're at one of our campuses, we would love to connect with you and talk with you as well at the campus. And we're just some people who care and would love to pray for you and with you. Well, as you know, our country and our city is not okay, and we're going to talk about that today. In fact, I think Jesus had a lot to teach us, and we have a lot to learn. And so I think our country has woken up, and there's some things we need to address. And today we're going to do that. And so let me just tell you, it's going to be one of those Rock Point kind of days. And so I hope you'll put on your seatbelt. I hope you'll stick around for the whole thing. We've got some great things for you today, including some talk afterwards and some discussion afterwards. And for those of you who are in the room and online, it's going to be a good day. So thanks for joining us at Rock Point. Let's do this.
Come on, let's stand together and sing together. Is there anybody sunshine been turned to rain? Is there anybody's blue sky been turned to gray? Is there anybody's good time turned out real bad? Is there anybody's happening turned out sad? And I know I can trust in the things that I see, yeah. All I know is at work, he's working on me, yeah. So let it rain, let it pour. Lord, I need you more and more. Let it rain down on me. Every day, whatever you want, not my will but yours, Lord. Let it rain down on me. Is there anybody's mountain too tall to climb? Is there anybody's faith like you're running wild? Let me tell you, he's able, he's done it for me, yeah. He can take your mountain and throw it into the sea. So let it rain, let it pour. Lord, I need you more and more. Let it rain down on me. Every day, yeah, every day, whatever you want, not my will but yours, Lord. Let it rain down on me. 'Cause the same God who made the sunshine is the same one who brings the rain. Oh, the same God who made the sunshine is the same one who knows my name. Let it rain, let it pour. Lord, I need you more and more. Let it rain as neighbors, our blood is one. Children, a generation of every nation, His kingdom come. So don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. Take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Say, oh, Jesus, our redemption, our salvation is in His blood. Jesus, light of heaven, a friend forever, His kingdom come. So don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one. God is madly in love. Oh, take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Swing wide, all ye heavens, let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Swing wide, all ye heavens, let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Oh, we're gonna sing it again. Swing wide, swing wide, all ye heavens, let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, the sound. All His children, clean hands, pure hearts, good grace, good God. His name is Jesus. Sing His name, Jesus. Oh, Jesus, our redemption, our salvation is in His blood. Jesus, light of heaven, a friend forever, His kingdom come. Well, I don't know about you. I hate when I go to a concert or church and they sing a new song that I don't know. So I know that some of you, maybe it's your first time today, you don't know any of those songs we're singing, and that's okay. Feel free to just relax. And then some of you watching online, you feel the same way. But yeah, that is a new song. So let's sing that last part. Maybe by now you've caught on to it together. This is my favorite part of the song. We sing this. So don't let your heart be troubled. And hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes, oh, don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes, oh, don't let your heart be troubled. I say, hold up. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix, oh, eyes on this one true. God is madly in love with you. Take control, don't be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Oh, Jesus, our redemption, our salvation is in His blood. Jesus, you're the light of heaven, a friend forever, His kingdom come. Yeah, I love that song. Hey, y'all can have a seat whether you're watching in the room this morning or you're hanging out at home this morning. I hope some of you on the lake. I'd love to be there right now too, so. Hey, we want to take a quick second here just to pause in our service. I just want to tell you that prayer is not the only thing we do, it's the first thing that we do. And like Pastor Shane said at the beginning of the service this morning, our world is in chaos. And so we wanted to give just a quick second for all of us together to pray through a thing that we call guided prayer. Now, you might think, man, that sounds weird or super spiritual. I promise it's not. Matter of fact, if prayer is not your thing, you don't have to participate at all right now in this next part. But we know that it's a powerful thing for all of us at the same time to be praying the same thing. And that's what guided prayer is. It's just specific things that, whether you're watching at home or in some other state or you're in this room right now looking at me, there's so much power when we all come together and pray for the same thing. So that's what we're going to do this morning. So wherever you're at, I just want to invite you to close your eyes and make some space in your heart, clear out the noise and the distractions. Maybe you came to church today just really burdened and your mind is chaotic. And just for a second, I just want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, breathe for a second, and push out all the distractions this morning in your heart. As we make our way through these guided prayers, just take it at your own pace. If you don't feel like you know what to pray this morning, we want to give you a few things to pray about. The first prayer we're going to pray together is simply that God would break my heart. With what's going on in our world right now, I wonder what God feels about it. I wonder if He's sad. I wonder if His heart is broken. I wonder if He's angry this morning. To follow Jesus means to care about the things that He cares about. And if you want to know where Jesus is or where He was always with the people on the outside, the people who were broken, the people that were judged or treated unfairly. And so today, we want to pray all together that simple prayer, God, would you break my heart? So I want to give you just a few seconds to do that right where you're at. Second thing we're going to pray together is simply, God, what do you want me to do? What a powerful prayer to all be praying at the same time. God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to fight for? What do you want me to stand up for? Who do you want me to talk to? Where do you want me to go? God has an answer for each and every one of us. So let's pray that prayer together. God, what do you want me to do? The last prayer we're going to pray together is a prayer of unity. Simply to pray, God, make us one. As Jesus was dying on the cross for you and for me, and He had nails in His hands and nails in His feet, a crown of thorns on His head, taking His last breath, He prayed a prayer. I wonder what God would pray in that moment. There's a lot of things that come to my mind, but what He prayed just kind of is shocking to me. He prayed that we would be one. That the people that follow Him, that say, Jesus, I'm following you, would be united together, because He knew that nothing could stop a church that's united around His mission, around His heart. So that's what we're going to pray this morning, is that more than ever before in the history of Rock Point Church, that we would be united as a church, that we would all have the same heart, the same mission, the same vision, to help people heal from life's hurts. So I want to give us just a few more seconds to pray that prayer. God, will you make us one? Let's pray that together. God, I thank you that you hear our prayers, that they don't just bounce off into the sky somewhere, but they actually capture your heart. You care about what's in our heart. And as we prayed together this morning, I pray that you would move us to action, that you would open up our hearts as we move through this service this morning, that you would show us, is there some wrong thinking, some wrong feelings in our hearts, that we would just be open to whatever you want to say to us today, whether we're watching on a screen or we're here in the room. Thank you that we can pray to you and ask you for help. In your name we pray, amen. Well, hey, I want to invite you to stand with us. We're going to sing another song together called You Keep Hope Alive. And this was a song that my wife and I found when we were living in Tennessee. And our worship pastor at the church wrote this song in response to the riots and the mass shooting that happened in Charlottesville a couple of years ago. So this song just means something to us today for the moment that we're in. So this song is called You Keep Hope Alive. Days may be darkest, your light is greater. You light our way, God, you light our way. When evil is rising, you're rising higher, with power to save, with power to save. Oh, you keep hope alive, you keep hope alive. The beginning to end, your word never fails. You keep hope alive, because you are alive. Jesus, you are alive. Death had a stronghold, but your life was stronger. Rose from the grave, rose up from the grave. Rising, you're rising higher, with power to save, with power to save. Oh, say, you keep hope alive, say, you keep hope alive, from the beginning to end, your word never fails. You keep hope alive, because you are alive. Jesus, you are alive. There's hope in the morning, hope in the evening, hope because you're living, hope because you're breathing. There's hope in the breaking, hope in the sorrow, hope for this moment, my hope for tomorrow. There's hope in the morning, there's hope in the evening, there's hope because you're living, hope. Come on, somebody sing. There's hope in the breaking, hope in the sorrow, hope for this moment, my hope for tomorrow. You keep hope. you are I love singing that song with you guys. You're welcome to sit back, relax, and watch this video. Hey, it's the Rock Point staff here, and we just want to let you know we're so thankful for you. We love getting to serve you and be a part of this church family together.
For the next couple of minutes, we're going to give you the lowdown on summer 2020 at Rock Point. So buckle up and get ready for a summer full of fun and surprises.
This summer, we are focused on 3 specific missions as a church. Number 1 is
Be a neighbor.
we're putting out a challenge to get to know the people on your street. This quarantine has made us realize how much we need each other. Did you know that there are people in the houses all around you who are hurting and lonely? I wonder what God wants to do through you and your family as we discover what it means to be a neighbor.
For some of you, this sounds like the scariest thing ever. And to that, we just want to say, we get it. Our staff has been busy creating a roadmap full of easy ideas that you can follow and put into practice. All you have to do is take this journey one step at a time.
So keep an eye out for the roadmap and other neighboring resources coming your way this summer. Also, our family ministry will be hosting events this summer that are easy opportunities to invite your neighbors to. I'm throwing it over to some of my friends to tell you about our summer mission.
The second focus of our 2020 summer as a church is called Enjoy Your Summer. Vacations have been put on hold, the future of our schools are unknown, and families are wondering, what are we going to do this summer? Well, have no fear, the Fun Squad is here.
So Rock Point, whether you're a red light person, a yellow light person, or a green light person, we have events planned that'll bring all your families together for fun. Drive-in movie nights, a pool party, pop-up ice cream stands, virtual game nights, it's all going down this summer.
As a matter of fact, we're kicking off the summer fun this week with the Kona Ice Truck again at our Leander campus. You and your family are invited this Wednesday from 1 to 2 to grab a snow cone. But that's not all. We want to invite all of our Rock Point kids to show up and help us create some thank you cards to our local heroes that we will be honoring throughout the summer.
This summer, we want to help you show your gratitude for the local heroes among us. Our missions team has been busy planning and preparing opportunities for you to drive up to a local hospital and make some noise for the essential workers who have kept us going.
So this week's focus is to enjoy your summer with the Kona Ice Truck on Wednesday, and also to serve a hero by creating a thank you card while you're picking up a free snow cone.
Well, there you have it. That's our summer mission. Be a neighbor, enjoy your summer, and serve a hero. Those tan lines may fade, but the mission will last forever.
So as we say every week, for you, your family, our church, and our community.
The
best is yet to come.
I think I need to fix my hair a little bit.
Are we supposed to look at him or you or each
Okay.
other? Okay.
John, turn your phone off, bro.
Clap. Hey, it's the Rock Point staff here, and we're so thankful to be a part of this church family with you. We love getting to serve you. I said that wrong. Here we go. Okay, ready?
La la la. Thanks.
Ready?
So hey.
Well, it's a fine group of people that work around here. Hey, y'all might want to stand up and help us out on this next song. 'Cause we are all the least of these, and just people in need of all kinds of grace. And on the outside we dress well, our stains of guilt have more to tell. A one, two, three. God be with the drunk, God be with the outcast, God be with the sinners and the thief. Change our rowdy ways, every careless mistake. Oh God, please show us mercy. We are all the least of these, just people in need, all kinds of grace. On the outside we dress well, our stains of guilt have more to tell. Oh, we tend to think we're better when we're standing next to A broken man who's seen his better day. Not politician heart, always saying it's your fault. Yeah, tell the truth, boy, you'll find your way. We are all the least of these, just people in need of all kinds of grace. On the outside we dress well, our stains of guilt have more to tell. Play that guitar now. We are all the least of these, just people in need of all kinds of grace. On the outside we dress well, our stains of guilt have more to tell. All right, this is where we need some help this morning. Y'all go ahead and put y'all's hands together. I think y'all forgot it's okay to clap in church. Take care of each other and lift up your brother, and we have all fallen short. Take care of each other and lift up your brother, and we have all fallen short. Y'all sing that with us. Take care of each other and lift up your brother, and we have all fallen short. Take care of each other and lift up your brother, have all fallen. Come on, let's sing it now. Take care of each other and lift up your brother, and we have all fallen short. Take care of each other and lift up your brother, and we have all fallen. Come on, just the drums. Take care of each other and lift up your brother, and we have all fallen short. Take care of each other and lift up your brother, and we have all fallen short. Y'all are welcome to have a seat. Thanks for singing along.
Well, I am so glad that you're here with us today. Thanks for joining us, wherever you're joining us from. I'm just thrilled to have you with us. It's a good day today. And so throughout this series, we've been asking the question, who are we going to be when this is all over? I mean, are there going to be some things that we've learned that will forever change who we are as we've gone through this COVID season? And then over the last couple weeks, who are we going to be as we've watched our culture erupt in a racial conflict? You know, here's what I've been thinking. I believe that this is really true in both of these cases, both COVID and this racial division that we're going through. Is I truly believe that the comeback from this is perhaps more important than the conflict itself. Like how we come out of this is incredibly important. Who are we going to be after this? How is this going to change us? One of the things that we've watched through this COVID time is how people have just absolutely cared for one another. You know, there's just something really great about that whole human spirit part that just rises up in us. It's just this amazing thing that happens. In fact, it's kind of the same thing you see when there's a tragedy, or maybe a national tragedy, or like a weather tragedy, or something like that, where all of a sudden people come together and everybody helps everybody else, and there's this just human spirit thing inside of us that just rises up, and it's an amazing thing to see, and it's wonderful. But if you call yourself a Jesus follower, that is not just a human spirit thing for us. In fact, you and I, if you call yourself a Jesus follower, you need to know this, that Jesus followers are called to care. Not just when tragedy strikes, not just whenever there's a division. We are called to care and live our lives as lives of people who care. We are called to reflect the compassion and the care of God in our lives all the time, not just in tragedy, not just around a racial conflict or unrest, but always. And so let me just give you the message up front today in case I upset you and you turn me off, or you got to go early, or whatever the case is. Let me just give you the message in a nutshell, and I want you to write it down. I want you to type it in your phone. I want you to get it. Let it get into your heart, because here's the message. It's this: that to say that you care and to not act is to not care at all. Because if you say that you care but you don't do anything about it, come on, you don't really care. We are Jesus followers. We are called to be full of compassion. And to say that we care but not to act is not being caring at all. It's not just a feeling. Compassion and caring is not just a feeling, it's an action. In fact, I would just say that true compassion demands action. There's this word in the New Testament, and the New Testament was written mostly in Greek, and it's translated. There's this word that we have in our English Bible, translated from a Greek word, and in our English Bible, it's the word compassion. The word in Greek is like 14 Greek characters long. In fact, I've taken years just trying to say it. That's not really what's important, is whether or not I can say it or whether or not you even know it. What's important is what it means. This word, this long Greek word that's translated compassion in our English Bible, here's what it means: to have bowels that yearn. It means to ache so much on the inside that you are moved to action. It's translated as compassion to us, but it is so much more than compassion. It's this inward aching for someone who is in need that moves us and drives us and compels us and shakes us into action. In fact, let me give you a couple of examples of these verses in the scripture where we see Jesus exhibiting this kind of compassion. It's so interesting. Every time we see Jesus feeling this compassion, his feeling was immediately followed by an act of goodness. Here's the first one from Matthew chapter 14. It says, Jesus saw a large crowd, and he had, long Greek word, compassion on them. And so when he had compassion, what did he do? He acted, and he healed their sick. In Matthew 20, Jesus saw some blind guys, and he went to them, and he had compassion on them because they couldn't see. And what did he do? He touched their eyes, and he healed them. Mark chapter 6, Jesus saw a large crowd and he had compassion on them. In fact, he said they were like sheep wandering around that didn't have a shepherd. And so what did he do? He began to teach them so they would have the tools they need to move through life. He felt so deeply that he had to act. So to say that we care but not to act is really not to care at all. And for those of us who call ourselves Jesus followers, let me just say it this way, that the closer you get to Jesus, the more you'll care for the things he cares for. But let me tell you what the other side of that is as well. That the further I drift from Jesus, the less I care about what matters to him. And so today, I want us to take a look at a very well-known story. In fact, this has been on tap for us coming up to this for well over a month now, as we were planning this comeback series. We knew we were going to talk about it. And what we're addressing today, and probably God's timing, not ours, is the most racially charged story in all the scripture. And let me just set up the story this way. There was this expert of the law in the first century, and he was debating with Jesus by saying, what do I need to do, if you're Jesus, what do I need to do to have my soul saved? And Jesus said, well, why don't you tell me? You're an expert of the law. Why don't you tell me what the law says? And the guy says, well, the law says love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, all your soul, and your strength, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, hey, you got it. Just go do that. You're right on. And the guy said, okay, I will go do that, but I've got to ask you something, Jesus. I got to ask you something first. If I'm supposed to love my neighbor, here's what he's asking. I need to know which neighbor are you talking about. I mean, are you talking about the guy that literally lives next door to me? Are you talking about that one right there? Are you talking about the guy that's in my online class? Are you talking about the person that lives in the apartment above me? Are you talking about the person I see at my first century Starbucks when I'm buying my $12 latte? That guy? I mean, what are you talking about? Which neighbor are you talking about? And here's what the guy says from Luke chapter 10 and verse 12. He says this, but he wanted to justify himself, and so he asked Jesus, who is my neighbor? Like, who is it that I have to love? Who is it that I have to care for? And Jesus said, well, let me just tell you a little story to your question. This will help your question. So Jesus tells him this little story. He says, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. And the truth is that if you know a little bit about that area, this was a treacherous road. This was a dangerous part of town. And so he went down, he was going down from Jerusalem, and look, he fell into the hands of robbers. This place was known to be this in that day. It was a very dangerous road, and look at what happens. These robbers, they jumped out and they stripped him of his clothes, they beat the living daylights out of him, and went away, leaving him half dead. They beat him until he's bleeding and almost unconscious. They take everything he had. This dude's in bad shape. But good news. We've got two very religious guys coming down the same road. Great news, right? Or maybe not. Take a look at verse 31. A priest, let's just say it like this, a pastor, happened to be going down the same road. We don't know why, but he's traveling down the same dangerous road. And when he saw the man, he's coming down the road, he sees the man, what does he do? He moves over, and he won't walk on the same side of the street as him. He just keeps on going. Now look, if you were to put yourself in this pastor's shoes, and let's just do that for a minute. Let's just be in, let's get in his mind for just a second. Chances are he might have had a long week at the church. That happens on occasion. I mean, he might have been dealing with some problems at home. He might have had a kid doing something crazy. His wife might have been mad at him because he's spending too much time at the church. All of those things happen. Maybe he's thinking to himself, this is a dangerous area and this could be a trap. Maybe that guy's not really hurt. Maybe he's faking it and there's 4 other guys, and if I go over there, they're going to jump me and beat me, and this could be a messy situation, and I don't really want that to happen to me. And maybe, just maybe, this guy I see laying over on the side of the road, maybe he had coming to him. Maybe this is what he had coming. Maybe he had some bad debts. Maybe he had hurt somebody, gone to prison for it, and gotten out, and the family that he had hurt had come and found him and beaten the living daylights out of him, and he's laying on the side of the road because he deserved it. I mean, come on, you can kind of understand that he perhaps had this conversation in his mind, much like we do. And the conversation goes on, ends up talking himself out of stopping. In fact, he just got on the other side of the road and wouldn't walk on the same side of the road as him. So, verse 32, take a look. A Levite. You know what a Levite is? That's a very religious person again. When he came to the place and saw him, he's coming up on it and he sees him. And look at what he does. I'm not going to walk on the same side of the road as that guy. He gets on the other side, and he just keeps on driving. Look, I hope this next statement just rattles you like it does me. And the statement is this: you will always have an excuse to justify not getting involved. There's always going to be a reason for you to say, oh, I can't do that. Always. When you see someone in need, when you see an injustice, just get ready for the conversation in your head, because you will always have an excuse. Oh, you know what? I'm running late. God, I don't even know them. I mean, you read about these things. They can kind of get screwy if you let that happen. I've got my own issues to deal with. I don't want to get involved. I mean, this could be a long, drawn-out thing. I could help that person. They may be like one of those needy life sucker kind of people and attached to me. I just don't have time for that kind of relationship in my life. Look, you're always going to have a reason to justify not getting involved with who you see in your path. The conversation in your head keeps on playing, but the reality is that if we say we care and we don't act, we don't really care at all. And as Jesus followers, we are called to take care of each other, to be a neighbor. Compassion. Can I give you a couple of thoughts about this story? Here's my first thought for you, is that compassion will interrupt your schedule. It's going to interrupt your schedule. So you don't just wake up one day and go, you know what, I just don't have a whole lot to do today, and so I think I'm going to go out looking for someone to help because I don't have anything else to do today. No, generally, God is going to interrupt your schedule with something that you didn't have planned, but maybe God directed your path right to it. And look how this story goes. But a Samaritan, that's important, we'll talk about that in a minute, as he traveled, came to where the man was. He saw him. And when he saw him, look at this. I want you to notice. He took, look at this word right here, pity on him. Do you know what that word pity is? It is the exact same word translated compassion. When he saw him, he had compassion on him. He felt that same deep, action-oriented kind of, I need to do something compassion. And here's where our story begins to fit what's going on today. Because this dude was all beat up, and he's a Jew. And the guy who came along last was a Samaritan. You go, well, what's wrong with that? There was a 700-year racial division between Jews and Samaritans. Because Samaritans were half Jew, half Gentile, and a Jew would literally walk all the way around the city to avoid walking by Samaritans. This was a hate fest that had been going on for 700 years. This Samaritan guy, who would have been hated by the Jewish guy laying on the ground, did one simple act. And what did he do? Instead of getting over on the side of the road and getting away from him, he actually walked across the street toward him. When he saw another human being, and even though he was from a different race and there was division, he took care of the man in need. Probably in his most famous speech, Martin Luther King said this, that the first question that the priest and the Levite asked was, if I stop to help this man, what's going to happen to me? The Good Samaritan reversed the question and said, if I do not stop and help this man, what will happen to him? Rock Point Church, listen. That is the heart of the gospel. It is loving God. It is loving others. I've been having a lot of conversations over the last couple of weeks, and I asked the question, why is it that racism still exists today? I mean, it was in the first century. Why does it still exist today? I think there's really three reasons why it exists. One of those might be that maybe someone has been a victim of hatred. Maybe someone mistreated you or someone that you loved, and so we feel like we can't trust them, and so I don't like them, and they don't like us. I think there's another reason. Another reason is it is absolutely taught. Our family doesn't hang around with their family. We don't hang around with those people. They don't hang around with us. We don't trust them, and they are like this. They're not like us, and that is taught and handed down from generation to generation. And then I think there's a third reason, and it's just plain ignorance, meaning it's a lack of perspective. It's a lack of exposure. It's a lack of honest conversation with people whose skin is different than yours. And when you have those three things built into the system of a society, racism will continue. Let me just tell you, I want to be on God's side of this. I believe to God that Black lives matter. Anyone with a brain activity at all knows that all lives matter. But right now, there's a part of our community that is frustrated and hurting. And so as a Jesus follower, I'm just going to agree that Black lives matter. Of course they do. And if you're like, yeah, but... then you're kind of like a person that I think would have interrupted Jesus himself when he was given the Sermon on the Mount. And when Jesus said, blessed are the poor people, and you'd go, no, Jesus, blessed are all people. Really? Why can't we have a conversation about this issue and then this issue? See, of course all lives matter. Of course they do. Listen, that's why we're saying Black Lives Matter, is because all lives matter. Come on, if we're going to say liberty and justice for all every time we put our hand over our heart, then let me just tell you, we got to walk that out all the way. But no matter how we got here, here's what you need to know as a Jesus follower. If you don't call yourself a Jesus follower, you got to work this out inside. But for Jesus followers, here's what you need to know. That racism is not a skin color issue. Racism is a sin issue. Racism is wrong in every form. Mistreating or harming anyone because of race or the color of their skin is a sin in the eyes of God. And let me tell you, it ought to be a sin in your eyes too. And yet, this guy who had dealt with racial conflict his whole life stops for the very one who would have considered him an enemy. And he feels for him because he's another human being. And he stops and he has compassion. In verse 34, I love this. The Samaritan, look at this. He went to him. He went to him. He went to the man who was in need. God help us to go to those who are in need. God help us to go back across the street and start hard conversations and sometimes awkward conversations and admit when we're wrong and choose to love those that look different than us. And it is our time to break the chain of racism in our country. And it starts with breaking it in you and breaking it in me and breaking it in our church. I set this last week with a couple of guys. Actually, I set this last couple of weeks with a lot of people. But with a couple of our African American friends here in church, and we had this conversation around a dinner table one night. And we sat there and we kind of dreamed to maybe have a hope that we could do something now so that when our boys and our girls who are coming up right now are our age, they would not have to sit around a dinner table to try to figure this out anymore. That we could change it. I want you to see the anti-racist move this guy made. He went to him and he bandaged his wounds. Look at this, pouring oil and wine. Where do you think he got the bandages? Where do you think he got the oil and the wine? They're his. Then he put the man on his donkey and took him to an inn and took care of him. Compassion interrupted this guy's schedule. And let me tell you, this isn't easy, but you've got to be sensitive to the whispers of God because he is going to interrupt your life and give you compassion to just take care of someone who's in need. Because compassion will interrupt your schedule. But it not only just interrupts, I want you to see this too. Compassion is going to cost you something. It's going to interrupt your schedule, and it's going to cost you something. It costs us something when we take care of each other. Sometimes we just have to give sacrificially. I mean, look at the story here. Look at this from verse 35. The next day, that's so important. What do you mean the next day? He took him to an inn and stayed with him until the next day. He spent the night with this guy. He took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper and said, look after him. And when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense that you might have. He didn't just pass the guy off and say, well, I did my part, tag, you're it. He stayed with it, and he made a difference to really help. When you care for others, let me just tell you, it's going to cost you something. And then here's the third thought I want you to get. And I think this is just the beautiful part about this, is that compassion is going to interrupt you, compassion is going to cost you, but it is compassion that changes lives. It is compassion that will change racism in our country. True compassion that causes us to act will change this. It will change how we treat each other. I mean, look at Jesus, follow his trail and watch as he interrupted time and time. Again, his schedule was blown up. And watch as he spends time with people that were different than him, that nobody else would hang out with. And watch as he showed compassion to every person around him that he came in contact with. He felt it so deeply that he was compelled to act. And yet, so many of us, we make a post on Facebook and go to the other side of the street and just keep going. We change the channel. We don't go sit down across a dinner table and have what, honestly, for me, is hard conversations to start. We don't risk knocking on our neighbor's door just to get to know who they are. We say we care, but to say we care and not act is really not to care at all. Compassion will change lives. But guess what? It won't just change the lives of the people that you're compassionate for. Compassion also changes you. Every time you drive on by, not only do you miss the opportunity to impact someone else in need, but you miss the opportunity for God to impact you. We are called as his followers to care for one another. And so I think it's a really fair question for us to ask when we come through all of this, what kind of church are we going to be? What kind of Jesus follower are you going to be? So today, I just want you to know, if you call this your place, right now, if you call this your church, if you represent Jesus through this church, let me tell you, we are going to be people who care. And people may not say we always get it right. People may say, I wished you would have said this. I wished you wouldn't have said that. I wished you'd have said this sooner. I wished you'd have waited a while. People are going to say, I may not agree with anything you believe. I don't even agree with anything you do, but we want people to know, oh my gosh, do they care? I mean, they're a bunch of crazy Christian people, but wow, do they care? And may God have mercy on us for driving on by. May God have mercy on us from seeing someone in need and hurting and frustrating, and someone who is being left out or done an injustice. May God have mercy on us for walking by on the other side of the street and forever mistreating someone simply because of the color of their skin. For letting that conversation that starts in our mind that says, yeah, don't stop, don't get involved. That's not your responsibility. This is going to be a fight if I do this. Do you know what you have to say when that comes up in your head? You got to say, okay, Shane, shut up. Get to the right side of the street. Make a difference. Be quiet in there. That's not the right conversation. Compassion is the right conversation. Because to say that we care but not act is not to care at all. You say, well, what do I do? It's a great question. I hope you keep asking that. In fact, I want you to ask it, and then I want to answer it. Because the truth is, you could live the rest of your life saying, well, what do I do? So let me give you an action step today, because some of you live by people. I'm guessing we live around people. And my question is do you even know them at all? I'm not talking about the friendly, I'm mowing the lawn, so are you wave. I'm not talking about, hey, I'll move over and let you come by on the street wave. I'm talking about, like, if their house caught on fire, could you call them? Could you text them? Do you know them? And so this summer, we're going to focus on being a neighbor. Say, well, I don't know what to do about all this stuff. Let me tell you, start being a neighbor. Start opening conversations that allow you to have those conversations that open up to action. And we want to help you be a neighbor. And here's how we want to do that. So starting today, if you'll just text the word neighbor to that phone number right now, then what we're going to do is this summer, we're going to start giving you some ideas. And we're going to start off with, like, how do I break the ice and become a neighbor? Because the truth is, there are people around you that are hurting, and you see them every day, and often we just get on the side of the road and wave them on by, and they drive by us with their hurt. You live in that neighborhood to be their neighbor. If you will engage with us at 512-710-2323, just text the word neighbor to that, we will begin to connect with you beginning now about how to be a neighbor. Because I tell you what, they can say what they want about Rock Point Church. What we never once said of us is that we don't care. And we will continue to move forward, and we will be a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem. And if you want to go there with us, then our goal is to begin to be neighbors to the people around us. And we want to stretch. And the only way to do that is for us to do that together and to take steps forward and change this because of a long Greek word that tells us, get on the right side of the street. Get on God's side of this thing. And let's do this together. Let me pray for us. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for the way you made us. God, use this in our lives in a big way. God, help us to be on your side. Help us to reject in every way anything that would be dishonoring to you and unloving and uncompassionate to others. God, help us to take steps forward and move together to change this world. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I want you to watch this quick video.
Hey friends, I wanted to take a quick second to share with you part of my story and to challenge you to take a specific step today. Hey, as many of you know, my family and I recently moved back to Texas from Tennessee to rejoin our Rock Point family. And most of that story, you'll have to read one day in the book that I'm gonna write. But to make a long story short, most of the days in Tennessee were spent feeling lonely and wishing we had friends, wishing we could find a friend to call up to go to dinner with or to meet at the lake. But as we begin to think about moving back to Texas, we begin to pray that God would help us to find our people again. Well, a few months ago, we joined one of our Rock Point small groups. And the truth is, I didn't know how lonely I was until I found that group. And now it's one of the best parts of my life. Throughout this quarantine, we've met over Zoom virtually, and we've also met spaced out in our Liberty Hill Rock Point campus parking lot just to have some human interaction. Now, I share part of my story with you to encourage you and to tell you that you don't have to live life alone. And before you say it, I know finding a group is hard and difficult. You work weird hours, your schedule's filling back up, you tried it and it didn't work before. Friendship is not an instant thing, but from a guy who desperately needed it, let me tell you, it's worth it. It's worth all the awkwardness of putting yourself out there again. Have you found your people? Do you feel disconnected from the church lately? Do you have someone that's praying for you right now, or someone that could show up when it hits the fan in your life? Summer is the easiest time to join a group. Over the summer, we're shifting our focus as a group to fun and just being together. And we've got virtual groups where you can meet over Zoom or FaceTime or other technology out there. And we've got in-person groups. where it's just about being together and having fun. Now, Adam, how can I find a group? That's a great question. Today on your connection card, you can write in the comments, join a group. And we'll connect you with someone this week, ASAP. But if you're a do-it-yourself kind of person, you can log on to the church website or through your Rockpoint app, and you can look at all the available groups that are there for you. So friends, whether it's virtual or in person, I just want to encourage you, don't live life alone. Let's be together this summer.
We just want to say we are so thankful that you guys decided to join us today. And whether you are watching us online or in the lobby, one of our favorite times is just getting to hang out with you and getting to go a little bit deeper, like into the conversation. And so right now we're just going to spend a few minutes, and we have Shane and Mario here, and we're just going to dive a little bit deeper into the conversation. So first of all, right now is such an interesting time in our world, and boy, do we need compassion more than ever. You know, 2020 has been a crazy year.
Yeah.
And for some people, including myself, it's really easy to kind of let the compassion go by. Our hearts kind of get hardened. And I love that you mentioned, you know, it's easy just to find those excuses. You'll always have an excuse. But do you have anything anything practical that we can do for those of us who feel that we may lack a little bit of compassion?
Yeah, you know, for me it is, I've got to have a rule in all of this thing. And for me, the rule is what I call a 10-second rule. Maybe I'm just, you know, I've got my own agenda, or, you know, I can't keep focused on one thing or whatever. But I know for me that if I don't do something immediately, if I don't decide in 10 seconds to do something, I'm probably going to roll on and not do it. You know, and so, you know, it's something we've taught our church before, is what we call a 10-second rule. And that's what it is it's just literally a 10-second rule that says, I got to decide now and do something about it. Otherwise, I will literally roll on, and I'll get to the end of the day or the month or the year and realize I never did it. I think for me, that's a real practical way to go. Nope, right now, whenever that boils up inside of me.
Mario, what about you?
I think for me, one of the things I think about, especially when talking to my kids, is don't. The 10-second rule is amazing. I think one of the things that I think about, you know, from the knowledge side of it, is to go, don't think that someone else is going to do it. It's better for four people to go and help someone else, rather than going, I think someone else is going to do it. Before you know it, everybody's gone past that person. So I think if you are thinking, you know, I want to leave a legacy of helping others, it's not about what I'm doing and all the things that I get to do. It's about helping others. And one of the things that it just reminded me is telling my girls this last couple of weeks is, I don't care if 5 people go help someone, go make sure that everyone goes to that person, because they're going to remember that those people came and helped me, not just one person. But I think we all feel called to do something, and within those 10 seconds, if we do it, amazing. But if there's multiple people going, it shows a community of, hey, I'm not alone. 5 people came and helped me, 2 people, whatever it is. So yeah.
I think that's good. I think one of the first things I thought about is how often when you see somebody that needs help, you think, oh, somebody else will do it. Yeah. And that's one of those just mental excuses that we make, that, or they don't want any help. They don't need any help.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Show up anyway. Yeah. You know, and that's something I personally have learned from Rockpoint. Just show up, you know. Well, Mario, you mentioned your kids. So we're going to talk a little bit about, all 3 of us are parents up here. And, you know, as parents, our kids don't always act the most compassionate. And in that same, you know, sense, our kids are not always on the other end. Sometimes they're on the other end of people that lack compassion. So can you guys talk about a time in your life, maybe when one of your kids came home and they were hurt because somebody was just mean to them, just didn't have that compassion? Either one of you want to go first? Jump in.
I think for me, it's you know, I'm raising 2 girls, and girls tend to have a little bit more drama than boys do, I think.
Hey, now.
So just trying to raise my oldest one to let things roll, you know, just roll it off your shoulder. And sometimes it's tough. And so sometimes I get in that mentality of just let it go. Or for guys, it was just rub some dirt on it, you know, but it hurt. And so trying to go, okay, you know what? And I think I taught about this one time, I need to slow down, because I'm missing a moment in my daughter's life that I could possibly cause a wound or help her heal from something. And when I started thinking about it that way, I remember as a kid, when I needed someone, and maybe I did, reach out to my parents and they helped me as best as I could, but someone to sit down and go, man, this is what happened and it's okay to hurt. But for me, I think it's just, I'm learning from the failure in my life because I don't want her to hurt from something that I didn't step into with her. And so I just got to constantly remind myself, I don't want to cause a wound in my daughter's life by not being there. Right. And it's tough and it's situational because, you're on edge, you're frustrated. Sometimes you want to go find out who hurt them, but then you go, okay, I got to teach her right now how to treat people and how to respond to this.
Yeah, you're just a better person than I am, Mario. I've run into this specifically with my boys, right? Both boys have been through the same situation. My oldest son is this beast of a man. He's 6'8". He's just this big old kid. When he got into middle school, it was kind of like, can you take out the big guy, right? And so I can remember having those conversations and going to his school and talking to coaches and talking to principals and talking to teachers and saying, this is what's happening, and nothing happened, right? My younger son, same thing. One happened in middle school, one happened in kindergarten, right? And so we just had this situation in kindergarten where it wouldn't stop, and we had said everything we would say till finally the day came with both of my boys where I told them, if you come home today and you didn't do something about that yourself, you're gonna have to deal with me. And this is why you're a better person than me. In both cases, it did not go well because both of them did what I told them to. I had a 5-year-old kindergartner who knocked another kid in the face, right? Because the kid wouldn't leave him alone. And I even told the teacher the morning of, he's going to do this. And she's like, no, don't let him do that. I said, then you better make sure this doesn't happen today. Well, we get the phone call, we get the note, all of that kind of stuff. We got to go to the school. But race was obviously on the forefront of all of our minds, and that's not race. But with my older son, you can't help if you're born big. And at some point, I kind of get what's going on because you also have to teach your kids all the things you talked about, all of them. You got to teach that. We taught them and taught them and taught them. Give, forgive, let go, walk away, all of those things. At some point, you also have to stand up for yourself. And that's what happened in our house. And again, I can't compare that to race because it was not about race. But what I can say is that as a parent, I want my kids to have a heart of compassion to walk away until you just can't walk away. But I also want them to have that drive to know there is a point where you step across the line and you do something to change the things around you. Right. So that's a big deal to me. And if I'm a bad parent for that, fine. But don't mess with my boys because both of them will,
While we were talking about this with my older daughter, the 5-year-old in the back seat with her, the younger sister goes, why can't she just get up and punch her? I was like, okay, Sam, you're the young
That's
one.
Sam.
Just relax,
See, Sam, good.
Go over to the O'Brien's house. Okay, so this summer, we have quite a few things that we're going to focus on, 3 main things. And one of them is to be a good neighbor. Can you talk about why we feel like that is so important right now in our world?
Oh, my goodness. You know why? Is because, we have 2 major things we're so divided over right now. Right? There's so much division over COVID and how to handle that. Even being where we are right now, there's just so much division over that. Not just in the world, but in churches where there should be no division. And then we've got this racial issue that has just erupted again. And there's a part of me that just goes, yes, it's time. Let's be the generation that changes this. No more. Right? There's a part of me that says that. And then there's a part of me that's like, oh, we're so divided. But sometimes you've got to work as a society and a church through disunity to find unity, because I think through that whole tunnel of conflict is something really wonderful on the other side. So you may have to be willing to go through the conflict to get there. Absolutely. So it's so important for us to be having these conversations about being a neighbor that's compassionate to where somebody else is.
Right. Because no matter what it is, there's always more going on in your neighbor's lives than you would ever know. And, I think that you said it before is that, our mission is to help hurting people. And how do we know they're hurting if we don't know them? And how do they know where to go if we don't know them? Well, Rock Point, we want to say thank you for joining us this week. We love you and we miss you, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right.
hold on. Don't go anywhere. Parents, we have everything you need to make church happen with your kids right now. Head to our website and click the Watch tab. There you will find videos for kids ages 0 to 5th grade. So fill up your copy and get the kids, and watch right from your TV, computer, tablet, or phone. We'll see you over there.